In this episode, I want to talk to you about 3 negative styles of communication. Now, these are the most common styles of communication that people use, but they're never helpful, even though we sometimes think they are. So let me give you the first one. The first negative style of communication is passive communication. Now, passive communicators give up their own rights in an effort to kind of balance out the relationship. They don't want to cause waves or ripples in the lake. And so instead of engaging and telling people what they think, they'll tend to say, whatever you think. I don't care. But the reality is they do. And they think by giving up their rights, they're actually helping the relationship. But the reality is they're hurting it. Because what ends up happening over time is these things build up. You keep stuffing and stuffing and stuffing, and the next thing you know, it's going to explode, and you get, a volcano or a geyser. And that's never good for any relationship. And so if you find yourself in this style of communication, what you're going to find is you tend to pass off or avoid having the conversations that need to be had. So instead of doing that, we're going to give you another option, but not in this episode. The second style is aggressive communicators. Now, aggressive communicators are pretty obvious. They're going to kind of put their thumb down and overrun the other person through their communication style. Now, both of these are dominant styles. The passive is dominant by not engaging and refusing to engage the situation. The aggressive is dominant by trying to get the person to avoid and kind of give in and say, okay, I give up, you win. The negative is you really hurt the other person. And you end up saying things and doing things in an effort to try to make things better that you end up apologizing for later. So if you find yourself on a consistent basis saying, hey, I am so sorry for what I said, or I'm sorry about this, then you're probably an aggressive communicator. The problem is you still haven't solved the issue. What you end up apologizing for is what you said or how you handled it. Now, the third style, if I have a favorite style of negative communication, it would be this, and that is passive-aggressive. Now, this is a combination of both of these styles. Now, I just find it easiest to give an example to help you understand what I mean by this. And the example I want to give you, imagine a couple on their way to dinner. And the person driving says to the other person, where do you want to go to eat? And the person, well, I don't care. Okay, well, hey, let's go to McDonald's. Oh, okay, it's fine. What? Oh, nothing. What's bugging you? Nothing at all. Okay, let's go. So you end up going to McDonald's. You can tell the person's upset, but they're not going to engage you, so they're being passive. But then they get there, and they're just sulking and the entire meal. And so you go, what's going on with you? Well, I hate McDonald's. I can't believe you wanted to go here. Well, I said, where do you want to go? I asked, and you didn't care. Well, I thought you would know. Or maybe it's even, they don't actually address the situation at all. And then you get home and say it's your spouse, and they go, why didn't you unload the dishwasher? And they're what we call deflecting the situation. So they're actually upset about not going somewhere else to dinner, but it comes out in an aggressive way about the dishes. Either one of these start passive, but then end up being aggressive and we attack. And so you don't want to do either of those situations. So we've talked about passive, we've talked about aggressive, and now we've talked about passive-aggressive. All three are dominant styles that hurt the other person by either not engaging in passive, not engaging initially in passive-aggressive, or engaging so much that we're hurting the other person through aggressive or passive-aggressive. And so I want to encourage you not to do any of these. And tune into our next episode where we're going to talk about assertive communication. And we're going to give you some very practical tools to help you be able to engage in a loving way.